Best in the business.
Ego. The ego.
That's ego.
Ego hit y'all with another one.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. New fear unlocked. Terence Crawford, is he too small for Canelo? Baby, you want baby, I know that. Well, Abel Sanchez, former longtime trainer of Gennady, Golovkin, he believes so. He believes that Terence Crawford is just too small. Great fighter, but not as durable as Jermell Charlo. So in this video, we're going to get down to it. I will breaks it down. Lego. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Abel Sanchez does a brand new interview, link in the description, where he's breaking down Canelo Triple G. And fair play to Abel. He's been very consistent. Every time I hear him talk about the fight, he's pretty much saying the same thing. And I can appreciate that, because you have guys that kind of hedge their bet. Even Roy Jones Jr., who as a fighter is a fighter I love and I grew up on. But Roy, in different interviews, he kind of saying some different things from what I've heard, right? So Abel Sanchez, that, like, I'm the same way, put it that way. Everything I said about this fight from the onset is pretty much what I'm saying about the fight now, because nothing has really changed. Why would my opinion need to change? I don't like the fight. I explain why I don't like the fight. Nothing has changed that. The only thing we've seen that's different is that Terence Crawford has bulked up and added weight, and it's just such a shot in the dark to know if that helps or hurts him, right? There's a reason why he didn't fight nobody else 160 or above. There's a reason why he only wanted to move up for only Canelo. So for me, I feel like you and your team believe there's something sweet with Canelo, or because he's not the biggest at 168 and he's flat-footed, you know what I mean? He has slow feet in quicksand, concrete shoes, right? You feel you could do something with him. But even that is still a tall order, because a lot of people are sleeping on Canelo is a good fighter. See, boxing is a passion sport. I'm all for passion, but I'm not for stupidity, right? You have a lot of people. I've pioneered this game. Everybody knows boxing ego. They all watch me, even if they don't claim it. They all watch me. I see my DNA through the game. They all my sons, bro. You watch other content creators, they'll do what I've already done. Or I change my thumbnail, they'll change their thumbnail. Change my title, they change, and so on and so forth. So everybody knows the brand at this point. We're multi-platform. What can I say? I done a hell of a job with great fans. You dig? And some people just don't know boxing. I don't look at anybody as competition. My competition is the man in the mirror. But competitors or whatever, there's just a lot of people who they love boxing or like it, but they don't know what they're looking at. They don't really know about boxing. Look at their fight predictions. All of them are wrong. You know, you got people who can't tell accurate news, clickbait, people who don't blink and stuttering and stammering and looking at cue cards, can't do a video in one take. All my videos be one take. I don't need several takes to talk boxing. I've been doing this. I'm a pro. I'm elite ego, and it is what it is. I don't have no mess ups really, right? I'll be one taking my stuff like Jay-Z. So that being said, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, but my opinion hasn't really changed on the fight. Don't like it. Let's get into what Abel Sanchez had to say. Roll the clip.
Briefly earlier, Canelo Crawford. A few weeks away now, Abel. How do you rate Terence's chances?
I honestly think that Canelo's too big. Terence is a superb fighter. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just think that moving up in weight without having fights to merit that, I think it's the wrong move. But he couldn't handle a 154-pounder the way that he was handling everybody else before.
Now, I told you I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. Listen to everybody keep saying what I've already told you on the channel. I don't understand what y'all don't understand. Damn, I'm good. Bro, Abel is saying verbatim what I've already told you on the channel, right? Moving up, you only have like 8 months to a year to bulk up. Putting on all this weight doesn't necessarily make you like punch 10 times harder. It really doesn't, right? You can add size. That's not doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like if Paulie Malignaggi went and then he gained a bunch of pounds and then he's 200 pounds, he's not going to be sleeping top heavyweights when he had marginal power. Now, Crawford does have snappy power, but it's often kind of overstated. Crawford, where he exceeds and excels, is his ability to sneak shots and land shots. So he does have some pop for sure, but he's cunning and he has agility and he'll lace you with a shot you don't see coming, right? And accumulation of just getting punched upside the head over and over again, right? That's kind of his bag. But in terms of like brute force power, where just Crawford just bow and then somebody's like in the ground, like, you know, spread out, crucified, it's not really his bag. Even Errol Spence, we really watched the worst version of Errol Spence that we've seen in the ring, and he was still standing up. Now, it was a rightful stoppage, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is he should have been snoring. If you have a version of a fighter that fights Gervonta Davis and you've been through a car accident, detached retina, and you're off to a bad start, get dropped in the second round, it's not going to be long before Gervonta Davis finishes you, bro, or Artur Beterbiev or Inoue. You know what I'm saying? So it's different levels of power, and we'll see. We'll see what Crawford has. I'm sure he has some tricks up his sleeve, but him moving up, Abel is saying he's too small.
Pounder the way that he was handling everybody else before.
And he said again what I said. Crawford moved up to 54 to fight Madrimov, who was no Canelo, and people overlooked that. And now he's going to go up pretty much 2 more weight classes. And then there's people who are picking the stoppage, right? Huh? Canelo's never been dropped. It's boxing. It's possible, but I don't see why that's people's prediction, right? And that makes me kind of question your boxing knowledge, because here's the thing: in these high level fights, nobody wants to get knocked out in front of thousands of people, right? So usually both fighters are not trying to make a mistake. So it's really rare. It's not a standard issue that you guaranteed to see a knockout in these fights. David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, no knockdowns, no knockouts. You look at Mayweather Pacquiao, no knockdowns, no knockouts. Canelo versus Miguel Cotto, no knockdowns, no knockouts, right? Not when somebody's like washed, or Floyd versus an MMA fighter like Conor McGregor, but when it's a on paper 50-50 match. Look at Bivol Beterbiev. They done had 2 fights, 24 rounds, and there's not been a single knockdown or knockout. People are getting hurt, but they're also champions with the resolve to know how to play it so they don't get knocked out. Bivol being crafty when he's hurt. Beterbiev is doing a great job of hiding it if he was hurt. You see what I'm saying? So that's the first thing. If you know your boxing, you'll know what I'm talking about. Oftentimes in these modern day, I'm not talking about, De La Hoya and Chavez. There are examples where a high profile fight, somebody retires on the stool or whatever. But look at Shane Mosley, De La Hoya, all these fights that I'm naming, and nobody's getting knocked out. Even Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, it's a technical knockout because he quit, no mas. But I'm talking about he didn't get knocked out like what Tommy Hearns did to Roberto Duran. You got to know your boxing. So to be honest, it's very infrequent that you see these high profile fights or alleged high profile fights and then somebody actually gets knocked out brutally in front of all the people, because it's just a lot of pressure and people tend to have their good camps and, fight like they know how. They're not trying to get blazed, even if they did get hurt, like Jermell Charlo. Charlo's never been knocked out. He got in there with Canelo power. He wasn't trying to get knocked out. You dig? He wasn't in there like, he's like almost like live to fight another day. I don't want to have to go through getting knocked out and being memed. Let's keep it going.
Madrimov is not Canelo. Canelo's been used to fighting all the bigger guys and has done very well with the bigger guys. Nobody's hurt him. I mean, he's fought the biggest punch. He fought Gennady. Come on, he fought Gennady twice, really the good fights, and then Bivol hit him with everything and couldn't hurt him. So how's Terence gonna do that? I don't think he can.
Another solid point. If we're going off of probability, and that's really all you have is subjective opinion and probability, and you're looking at Crawford never dropped or stopped Madrimov at 54. Canelo, you could say, oh, he has slow feet. Crawford's better. Crawford's faster. Yada, yada, yada. But what Abel said is true. Canelo's getting up in there with Caleb Smith. I watched Caleb Smith fight somebody else, right? And he had him twerking on the ground. Like their body was like gyrating and like convulsing and doing the stanky leg on the ground. So he does have some pop. And when he got in there with Canelo, he got his arms bashed up. He like 6'4", bro. 6'3.5" or something. He looked like Eddie Hearn height when they be next to it. Right? And Canelo went in there with him, who's way bigger than Crawford, way taller than Crawford. And at best, you could say, here's the thing. You could say, oh, but Crawford, he got more skills than Caleb Smith, which what I would agree to. I would agree that he got more skill than Caleb Smith. However, Caleb Smith has something that Crawford doesn't have. See, when people talk boxing, this is why I don't listen to boxing commentary from no boxing creators, because it's just foolish. People don't know what they're talking about. People are so biased and lack objectivity that they'll make a statement or inference, but then they won't talk about the flip side of the coin, which is where I come in and give you guys reasonable, objective commentary. Like, I have no problem for anybody who says Crawford has more skill per capita than Caleb Smith. That is, in my opinion, true. That's a true statement. However, there's a big however. There are things that Caleb Smith has, albeit physical attributes or whatever, that trump what we've seen from Crawford. The fact that he's 6'4", Crawford's not that big. His arms are probably not as long as a 6'4" guy, right? I would say Caleb Smith is hitting harder than Terence Crawford, moving up in one motion. You see what I'm saying? And so on and so forth. And then you look at the imperial punchers like Kovalev and Gennady Golovkin. Hey, no, guys, hey, Max, guys, is nothing. You look at them, and Canelo went 3 fights, 36 rounds with Golovkin, and then Crawford's supposed to just come in and knock him out. I feel like if Crawford were to win, his best bet is to try to outbox Canelo. Pot shot, outbox, make it an ugly fight at points, stand your ground, and let Canelo know he can't punk you. And out-tussle in spots Canelo. Not like this all-out war, like just keep pushing Canelo back and Canelo's just getting and getting beat up. Like, I don't know. I don't know how logical that is. That's why I don't like this fight, bro. Let's keep it.
I see Canelo going away maybe in a 16-12, 17-13 kind of fight. The first 3 or 4 rounds will be difficult for Canelo, or a little harder for Canelo because of the speed. But once he just like when Golovkin fought Kell Brook, you know, the first 3 or 4 rounds where Kell was fast. But Terence is going to expose himself when he throws his punches, and Canelo's going to finally get this timing down, and I think we'll be able to control the fight.
Another solid point. He compared it to Golovkin versus Kell Brook. And like, I don't mind commentary like this because it seems rooted in realism, right? I don't care if you're picking Crawford or Canelo. I really don't. But you should be able to articulate who and why you're saying everything. Abel is doing that. He's like, Crawford's moving up a lot of weight. He's giving up a lot of weight. That's a fact, right? He struggled at 54 with Madrimov, and Madrimov is no Canelo. Again, pretty much a fact. If you think that Madrimov, and this is what I was saying earlier about people who tell you one thing, but then they won't tell you the counter argument to it. That shows deceit. You are being deceitful if you have something to hide, right? So people are going to be like, oh, but Madrimov has better footwork than Canelo. I would agree to that. Different style for sure. But Canelo got better experience, a better chin, more experience at higher weight classes, done more for the sport, made more money, and has more resources, meaning you can get better nutrition, better sparring, you know, proper like cryotherapy, all that's covered. Canelo got enough money for all that. I'm not saying Madrimov is broke, but we know Canelo make more money than him. So there are attributes that Canelo has, but the usual suspects, the Bud buddies, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about fair boxing. They're only going to talk about, but Madrimov is better in this angle, which we can agree to. He does have better footwork than Canelo and a different style, but Canelo got these things too. He got experience, way more fights, big fight experience like Floyd's, Cotto's, Golovkin's. Madrimov had 10 fights, 11 fights in a draw, right? He ain't really fought and he wasn't really that active. Canelo just fought in May, whereas Crawford ain't fought in this year. He ain't fought since August of last year.
See a version of Canelo now that is slowing down. Obviously, a lot of people might point towards the Williams School fight, but again, despite how that one played out, people talk about his lack of motivation maybe for a fight like that. But do you see this version of Canelo declining?
No, I think the lack of motivation because of the opponent could have been the reason for that fight. I think these guys at that level, once they get a name, they're looking at a name. It's a different story. They're not only their motivation, but they're waking up earlier in the morning to go run. All those things come into play because they know they have a challenge ahead of them.
Very good answer from Abel Sanchez. Listen, at first I was like, Canelo looked garbage versus Williams School. He didn't look good. I vehemently agree there. I don't know what was up, but I don't like to be prisoner of the moment. So the more I started thinking about this fight, the more I was like, who is William School? What would Canelo's motivation really be for that fight? It was, he had one belt. That's the only reason they made this stupid fight, is because the dude had one belt and Canelo could be 2X undisputed, which would amp up, allegedly, the Canelo Crawford fight, which I still really see very minimal buzz. But that's another story. So the more I started thinking about it is Canelo probably was like, I'm not chasing this dude. They're not going to give him the rounds over me, especially with the Crawford fight hanging in the balance. He's fighting negative. He's fighting, trying to catch me slipping and, you know, pick a couple shots and act like he did something. So I think it's totally different than a Crawford fight. Crawford, he's like, you fight nobody. You fight name one elite name, one guy, right? There's been some banter, and Canelo does come across as a prideful person. So he don't want to lose to no black dude named Crawford, who he just said has no resume and is coming from 2-3 weight classes underneath him. Different motivation. So I had to kind of retrain my thinking there with, I agree Canelo looked bad for the school fight, but how much can I really gauge that? He was probably, I got $45 million to fight this school dude. He not really making it a fight. I'm in Saudi Arabia and there's no crowd basically. So I'm just going to go through these rounds. And you also want to remain injury free if you know your next assignment, right? If he fought William School and got more aggressive, what if he picked up an injury? Now he got to fight Crawford with an injury or a cut that was over his eye from a headbutt. So it's kind of deceiving to judge that. So I got to kind of go more off of Canelo's totality the more I thought about it versus the School fight. But I do agree he looked bad versus School.
One thing with the weight, and again, Buddy spoke to me about this, is he said that if he was Terence, he'd come in just over the 160 limit, so he's just inside the 168 limit to try and keep a bit more of that speed instead of just like bulking up. Do you agree with that sentiment, or if he was Terence, would you just bulk up?
Well, let me say this. Like everybody else, I read or I watch some of the writings on the internet, and to see that Terence is weighing 186, 190 pounds, I think that's completely the wrong way to do it. As a coach, I would have liked to have seen him been right at the limit, 68, 70, and not have to lose any weight. Because now he's at 180, say 190, or whatever it is that he's weighing. Now he's going to have to drop down to a limit. What's the sense? It makes no sense to me. He looks good. His body looks great. But if he was at the weight where he could just walk into a fight and wouldn't have to do nothing but weigh in, I think that would be beneficial to him.
Again, Abel's cooking. That's a very solid point. The best in the business told you that already. I've already went over that point. It's exactly what I said. Like bulking up to 190 and then cutting to 168. Does that really give you a supreme strength advantage when you're going up then going back down, versus if you would teeter right around super middleweight 175 or under 172, right? And then do a smaller cut, then you just focus on strategy. What's the real point of like getting brolic, getting your creed on and getting as big as you possibly can, only to then switch around and have to make a weight cut? Is that really going to make you substantially more powerful? I don't really think so, right? It'd be like Roy Jones pumping up his body to 200 pounds heavyweight and then cutting back down to 175 to fight Tarver. You know what I mean? Like, what was the point of that? Why did you go up just to go back down? So I agree with Abel Sanchez here. Kind of a weird. I mean, ultimately, these are just opinions. So we'll see on September 13th if it mattered and how he looks and how he develops strength or whatever. Because, of course, Crawford's team, they have a plan. So maybe that's part of the plan and they feel like that's the best plan. But I don't understand when you got to do a weight cut. And it's funny because You have a lot of these that be like, size doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. Weight don't matter. Weight don't matter. Crawford got skills. Then why bulk up? See, that's how I keep destroying y'all with boxing commentary, because these people who are giving commentary, they can't even stay consistent with what they said. People say weight don't matter, then why bulk up to 186, 190 just to cut weight? Why'd you do that? If skills pay the bills and weight don't matter, then why'd you go past 168 when you probably normally, because Crawford looks the biggest that he's ever looked. So I don't recall a time where his starting point appeared to be so high. So why are you doing it just now for the fight? I don't really understand that, but it is what it is. So I think that's another very solid point from Abel Sanchez. If skills pay the bills, then you shouldn't have to necessarily bulk up. And I'm not telling them not to. It's already been done. So they could do whatever they want. But what I'm saying is, if skills pay the bills, then why are you playing it like that?
Do you see this fight resembling anything like the Jamel Charlo fight that Canelo had, or because obviously the weight factor again?
Yes, it'll be. But look at Canelo's last 7-8 fights. After the 5th or 6th round, it's a sparring session. He's just having fun in there. He's just throwing punches and hitting the bag, and there's no worries. He's throwing, he's pounding the arms. He's not really trying to knock anybody out. He's just having fun. So yeah, I see it as the same, except for I think the Charlo was a little bigger, so he may have taken a little more punishment. I don't think Terence will be as durable. Once he starts pounding the arms or pounding the hips, it's going to be difficult for Terence.
Difficult.
So I told you, he said that Jamel Charlo is bigger and he believes to be more durable, right? So it'll be interesting, to say the least, what actually happens and whose opinions are accurate. But Jamel Charlo was more established at 54. I've been telling y'all that. I never went away from that. And that's just the reality of it. He just did more at 54. Crawford got one fight and looked mediocre versus the person, Madrimov, who don't really have that much fight. That's why the timing was bad. I really feel like, and I said this before, but in case you missed that video, I feel like if Turkey was so hell-bent on making this fight, Crawford needed to perform better versus Madrimov. That was your audition tape, because it would have been at least the closest in weight to 168, the highest weight. Crawford weighed in at the highest he's ever weighed in, right? He looked chipped up and brolic and in shape, and yet and still, you had a super tough fight at 54. Your audition tape needed to be better to land the role, in my opinion, for Canelo at 68. If they're closer in weight, no problem, but that's not the case. So for me, this is why I don't want to see the fight like that. It's just something to do, passing time. I'll really be glad when the fight's over, because to be honest, it's like there's too many opinions about it, and my opinion has never changed or wavered. The only way that my opinion will change is to prove me wrong, that this was a great fight and it turns out to be a great fight, and I'm underrating it, because I told you, I don't trust this fight at all. I don't trust that this is going to be an instant classic. I don't think that it's going to deliver mega fight of the year. Like, this is the fight everyone's talking about 25 years from now and all this stuff that they're pretty much advertising. I really don't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
I don't think Canelo is looking for that at this stage of his career. I think he's just looking just to punish somebody in front of him and just have fun. Just, there's no danger in front of him, as is, like I said, in the last 6 or 7 fights, it's been sparring sessions, so there's nothing that presents any kind of, like, watch out. So I think that he's just going out there to have fun.
So, if let's say if he was to fight a Dimitri Bivol in a rematch, his mentality might be different. His mentality might be, I know this guy could outbox me, so I need to stop him.
Absolutely. Against Dimitri Bivol, he would give you the 110% effort to try to knock Bivol out, because in doing that, what happens then then he's at 100% himself. He's not going to get hit with the shots that Bivol hit him before.
So there you have it. Abel Sanchez, he doesn't think Crawford is big enough to contend with Canelo. And after, 5-6 rounds, it's going to be the Canelo show where Canelo is pretty much in charge. And my thing is this is why another reason why I don't like fights like this, because if that's the case, if Crawford hasn't like badly hurt or gotten the respect of Canelo in the first half of the fight, and let's say he's down bad, this is not like a Sean Porter who was a podcaster where your coach says, oh, you're down on the scorecards, you need to turn it around. It's not that. You're fighting a bigger guy, an experienced bigger guy, a guy who's powerful, right? So I don't feel like some of the essence of what made Crawford successful 147 and below will necessarily apply. Meaning, like, if you ain't figured out Canelo, like let's say the beginning of the fight looks like the Charlo fight, then I think Crawford will get cooked, because it's going to be harder to do this snap your fingers and do this miraculous, like, come from behind victory where like you're neck and neck with Jose Benavidez, and then in the 12th round you knock the man out. And speaking of that, this man, I was at that fight, Jose Benavidez. The more I start thinking about this fight, the more I hate it, because I was at the fight with Jose Benavidez, and it was a good fight until apparently Jose Benavidez's leg, being shot in his leg, seemed to take a toll, and he started to naturally slow down. And then Crawford started to pull away. But even in that, he stopped him in the final round. This is at 147. Actually, no, it was before 147. Yeah, I think it was at... Yeah, it was before the Jeff Horn fight. No. It was 147. It was after Jeff Horn. But either way, the bottom line is, like, it took you 12 rounds to stop Jose Benavidez, and then you really have people who's saying that he's going to move up to 168 and stop Canelo. I don't see the Crawford stopping him. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll admit that I'm wrong, but I don't see that unless Crawford looks snacked up or something, and this looked like Canelo got overnight and looked like a whole different fighter. Based on what I've seen from both fighters, I don't really see that. I don't see how that happens, but seeing is believing. We'll see how it all plays out. Let me know what you guys think. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.